Next Tuesday, the Folk Arts Center of New England launches its 42nd summer season of Folk Dancing by the Fountain in Copley Square. To kickstart the 2012 series, organizers have scheduled New England contra dance caller George Marshall and the popular duo Perpetual Emotion to provide live music. Joining me now to discuss this great Boston tradition are Lynn Heinemann, Back Bay resident and longtime folk dancer, and Phil Lohnes, why don't you tell us what you do?
I'm just another folk dancer, but very supportive of this, and have been talking to them about trying to bring contra, which is one of the more easily understood and New England-based folk dances.
Now, Lynn, you were telling me before we started that you've been it's never nice to ask a lady her age, but you've spent a long time doing this. When did you start, in the 80s?
I started, I think it was in 1984 or 5. And when you do the math, it's very hard for me to accept that date and still claim to only be 27 years old.
Now, Phil was talking about contra dancing. I notice in the times that I've been in some of the video that we might show, there's many different types of folk dancing from many different parts of the world that are taught by.
It's from almost every nation, every continent, except Antarctica. I don't think we've done any dances from Antarctica, but from every other continent. And it's a fabulous way to meet people. You get to hold hands with people without any fear of commitment. There's no commitment. You're holding hands with someone else the next dance.
Yes, and you're promenading. And now, Phil, you have brought in, for this first kickoff event, Perpetual Emotion. It's a progressive contra dancing thing here. Why are they so popular?
Well, they do a form that's given various names, but the most popular name for it is techno contra. And it's really much more of an electronic sound that carries well for people who have never been exposed to it previously. I find that a lot of people bring their friends to the techno contras, even though those are the most crowded by far.
I see. So usually there's tape music or a small band with string instruments and squeeze boxes and things like that. Now, one of the things we should point out is that typically, first of all, you have callers or someone explaining and teaching the dances, so that at the beginning of the evening, they teach very simple dances that might be just walking in a circle. And then by the end of the evening, people like yourself that have done dances from all over the world are...
Well, they usually start with something a little slower, a little more sedate, so that anyone who happens to be watching should get over the fear of joining. It's just walking. It's one step then the other's foot, and anyone can do it. And every single dance is taught. There's a little period at the end for requests where you just go through most likely dances that we've already been taught earlier in the evening. But all the dances are taught by the very patient and very thorough teachers from the Folk Arts Center of New England. It's wonderful. It's a great way to learn it. It's exercise. It's social. It's a fabulous lot of fun.
Phil, you seem to prefer contra dancing. That's where you have callers. People that don't even know that know about square dances, where they also have callers. What is it about contra dancing that people like so much?
Well, it's interesting because it's a very moldable form of dance. It's simply walking, and it's doing a bunch of figures that are called out, and that gives people a lot of ability to improvise. When I started doing that kind of dance, you saw a lot of influence from Appalachian clogging. Currently, though, you see an awful lot of influence from swing dancing and a lot of swing dance moves. And at the same time, if you just want to do the traditional, you can, and the two mix really, really well.
Okay, so now, do you find people, who comes to the typical Tuesday evening in Copley Square? Or is it people that pass by, or the regulars?
There are regulars, the hardcore group that'll show up even when it's raining, in case they haven't been canceled already. And there's a phone number you can call to make sure that the dance is going on should the weather look threatening. And people will come by who are staying at the area hotels who just, oh, this is a neat thing. First they'll watch, and usually you can cajole them to join us. Or people walking home from work. Towards the end of the summer, sometimes we get the college groups who are here for orientation, and they'll come as a clump, a whole big gang of freshmen learning about the city. And it's a fabulous way to learn about the city. You're dancing under the magnificent architecture, under the stars. It's dark, no one can see your mistakes.
Phil, we're running out of time here, but let me just say, is this a non-intimidating form of dancing? Because maybe guys don't think, men particularly.
Well, actually, that's one of the odd things, particularly about Contra, is there are more gentlemen than women typically at a New England Contra dance. And it's because you don't have to have the fine body control. It's only walking, and you don't have to be in exact time with the music the way you would with a two-step or something more complex.
You don't have to be like on Dancing in the Stars, getting the hip movement.
No.
All right, if folks want to, we're pointing out you have your big beginning next Tuesday with Perpetual Emotion and a special caller. But what is the website of the Folk Arts Center of New England that people can get the whole schedule and the performers and callers?
That's facone.org, or as we say, fac1.org.
All right, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Phil, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.